According to my clock, it is noon straight up Central Time. We will wait just one more minute to let folks join, but welcome. All right, let's go ahead and get this underway. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We're happy wherever you happen to be joining us. My name is Scott Anton, VP of Sales Strategy for Gideon Taylor, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn, Troubleshooting PeopleSoft Performance, 5 Costly PeopleSoft Mistakes, and the Mechanic Mindset that helps you fix them. It looks like we might have a question right off the bat. Let's see. Jürgen, yeah, let me go ahead and take you off mute. If I can maybe I can't. Oh, allow mic, there we go. Jürgen, how can we help you? Maybe that was by accident.
Posted in the chat that he needed to be able to unmute his microphone to get audio.
Yeah, and I think that I did that. Oh, for some reason, it doesn't seem to be responding. Jürgen, do you want to go ahead and post your question or comment in the chat?
Yeah, no, it is working right now.
Oh, very good.
But yeah, for whatever reason, my meetings start with microphone disabled.
Yes.
And I have to enable, yeah, and that's okay usually, but I have to enable the microphone to start audio, which is very, very weird. So thank you very much. It's working now.
Oh, interesting. Well, hopefully it works out for everybody else. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Yeah, welcome to our Lunch and Learn today. This is a series that we host on a monthly basis. Very often our content has focused on GT eForms and what organizations are doing with eForms, unique and creative applications of eForm technology within PeopleSoft and engaging self-service for employees and managers and students and anybody who might be a PeopleSoft user. But today we're excited to bring PeopleSoft performance and troubleshooting into the mix. And you'll see more of that this year as we expand our topics into the broader sphere of the services and solutions that Gideon Taylor provides. So this month, we're very fortunate to have John Marcus, our Senior System Administrator, on the line with us, and he will be sharing the next hour of content with us from his experiences over the past 20 years of doing system administration, and most notably PeopleSoft. Granted, organizations have been doing PeopleSoft system administration for, can you believe it, almost 40 years, since 1987. So it's been a while, and I'm sure that John has some fantastic tips and tricks to share with us that can help you make the most of your PeopleSoft experience and your PeopleSoft performance. From a housekeeping standpoint, if you've got questions, please feel free to post those in the chat. We are more than happy to respond to those, or in the Q&A. We'll be monitoring both of those during the session today. We are recording this, so a link to that recording will be sent out to everybody who's registered for this probably sometime early next week. So keep an eye open for that and share that with others if you'd like. I think that is it. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to John Marcus and enjoy. John, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. And yeah, if you and Alicia wouldn't mind keeping an eye on the Q&A in case I don't see questions crop up or that kind of stuff. So yeah, as Scott said, my name's John Marcus. I'm the principal systems administrator and OCI architect and senior systems admin here at Gideon Taylor. I've been with Gideon Taylor, geez, almost 10 years or almost 11 years now. Last April was my 10-year mark. But a little bit about me before I was, John Marcus, the system administrator. I grew up in Wyoming, in a very rural area, and my dad was a heavy equipment mechanic. And so I spent my summers crawling around, cats, tractors, excavators, all kinds of equipment like that, learning how to troubleshoot mechanical systems. And my brother and I both kind of gravitated towards computers over mechanical stuff. But one thing we both have figured out over the years is that, when it comes to troubleshooting complex systems, the process is pretty much the same, regardless of whether you're talking about, hydraulic power or electrical power or ones and zeros and database connections. And so we've kind of, worked that into our professional lives. He doesn't do anything with PeopleSoft, but he's, kind of a similar role as I am at another company. And I've, landed here at Gideon Taylor doing this. And, one thing that I get called upon a lot is, systems having trouble, let's troubleshoot it and find out what happens. And so that led to me creating this presentation. And so this isn't really going to dive into the nuts and bolts necessarily of how to troubleshoot a specific PeopleSoft problem. It's going to teach you a mindset and a technique for troubleshooting any kind of problem, whether it be PeopleSoft, bare metal computer, VM, or anywhere else in the, complex systems you might have to troubleshoot. And I always start with a little anecdote of when I was about 16 years old. We had this little piece of equipment that was having troubles. And my dad asked me to fix it. And so I spent probably a month working on this thing and replaced a bunch of parts because I thought, I did some testing on it and found this symptom that seemed to indicate that, these parts were bad. So I replaced a bunch of parts. That didn't fix it. Replaced a bunch more parts. That didn't fix it. And finally ended up just basically rebuilding the whole motor for this piece of equipment. And that still didn't fix it. And then my dad, ever the, wanting to show how it's done, came out, looked at one part that I didn't replace and showed me how it was bad. And that was all that was wrong. It wasn't anything else that I had touched. It was that one part that I didn't even consider because I hadn't considered the entire system as a whole. And that's a real life lesson that I learned from him. And so, yeah. So I'm going to now try and impart that thought process to anybody here who wants to learn it. When it comes to troubleshooting a complex system, there's the 4 C's. The first C is the condition. The condition is the outward symptom. This is what you're likely going to get a ticket about if something's going wrong with the system you're working on. Your user's going to be like, hey, I can't log in. That's going to lead you to trying to figure out why they can't log in, because not being able to log in is not actually a technical problem, but the cause of that generally is. So you're going to do your troubleshooting, figure out why they can't log in, and once you have a cause that you can articulate out as to why that is what's wrong, you're going to correct it. Correcting it is anything from rebooting the authentication server to fixing a configuration string that may be wrong, or anything in between. It's any kind of action you take to correct a cause. And once you've corrected the cause, the last and likely most important step of any troubleshooting process is going to be the confirmation. You have to go back and confirm that after your correction, the cause no longer exists and therefore the condition does not exist. That is the only way you can verify, essentially cause and effect. Did my fix the actual cause, which makes the condition go away? And if it doesn't, then you kind of have to just iterate through that loop. You got your condition, you find the cause, you correct it, you confirm it. If it fixes it, great. If not, then you have to kind of iterate through and go back and find, either the next cause or a correction that fixes the cause, depending on the kind of problem it is. the biggest thing to remember when you're doing a diagnosis is that assumptions will kill your efficiency. You always have to verify what the end user is actually seeing, because as we all know, you get a ticket, half the time it doesn't say what's actually wrong, half the time it does, but they say it in the wrong way and people miss the context. And you basically, before you do any kind of troubleshooting, you need to verify what's actually happening, on the ground with your user. Easiest way to do that, if you can, just get on a screen share with them. I mean, that's, I tell my people that generally speaking, it's going to end up on a screen share anyway. So get on the screen share as fast as you can, because the faster you get to an actual verification of the condition, the faster you can get to trying to find the cause. The next thing you want to do is verify that it's repeatable, both by the person that's reporting it and peer users. People are like, their business group. If it's a problem with, in PeopleSoft, say it's a problem with a payroll item, you find somebody else in the payroll department and see if they're having the problem. One of those, more information is never a bad thing when you're diagnosing something. There's no such thing as having too much information about a problem. And to that note, you want to gather all the information you can. Lots of stuff becomes relevant only after you figured out what else is going on. But if you didn't gather it to begin with, you may not make that correlation at the end when you start figuring out what the actual cause is of the condition. And the last thing you want to do, and this is, at least in my case, we run into this a lot because of our we do a lot of cloud work for customers. We come in as a managed service vendor. You want to verify that it's a condition that was not pre-existing. Make sure it's something that actually just recently quit working, and not something that hasn't been working for 6 months and they decided to make you fix it because you're the managed services vendor. And so, yeah, mistake number one, people don't always verify the condition. They make assumptions about it. They make assumptions about the cause. They completely skip the condition and think they know what the actual cause is. But in a proper diagnosis, if you don't verify the condition, you don't know exactly what you're tracking down trying to fix. And that also leads to mission creep too. If you fix one thing and then they're like, well, that wasn't what was actually broke. And so now you're troubleshooting something else, and it leads into a huge quagmire. So yeah, rule number one, always verify your condition. The next thing you want to do is you got to treat the cause, not the condition. And this is not so much a hard and fast rule as just something to keep in the back of your mind. You got to determine the root cause of an issue before you can start treating the condition underlying it. And that's, root cause analyses take time. Time you may not have if it's a production issue. But even if you do a Band-Aid fix to get them going, you then have to go back, do a proper root cause, and treat the condition itself, or it's just going to come back in a different form and be a thorn in your side. You really do want to try and perform the root cause analysis before you take any corrective action. And this is something a lot of people miss. You always have to ask yourself, is this really the cause of the condition, or is it just another symptom? You really have to dig deep until you are sure you know what the underlying cause is. Otherwise, you're just treating symptoms and not fixing the problem, and your system will obviously show signs of that in other areas. And always remember that accurate root cause analyses are the key to long-term performance. If you don't know what broke or what fixed it, you're never going to be able to fix it in the future with any kind of repeatability. And the last thing, and this is kind of more a soft skill than a technical troubleshooting skill, but you have to communicate to your customer. Customers can be demanding, but they also generally are rational. And if you communicate with them and even over communicate with them, even if it's a huge problem, generally speaking, they will understand and give you the time you need to do a proper root cause analysis, or at least a deeper analysis than just trying to fix the surface issue. And this is one, yeah, this one really demands some soft skills, because you do have to, this is where you're directly interfacing with your customer, and you kind of have to finesse it. You got to know, you got to be able to read the room. the next one is people tend to run before they have all the knowledge they need. You got to wait for all your info. You don't want to take any corrective action before you've done a root cause analysis. That's essentially throwing parts of the problem or throwing changes at a problem that may not fix it. You certainly can't verify if it fixed it. And you won't know what actually fixed it if you're not doing, the corrective action, then a confirmation after each one. And if people get into this particular mindset, they tend to just twiddle all the knobs at once until something works without testing to see which piece actually worked. So yeah, you really got to resist the urge to get into that. You also have to resist the urge to throw quick fixes at things. Quick fixes, may fix the condition, may not fix the cause, and depending on the type of quick fix, it may just set you or the next person up for failure when that quick fix quits working and nobody actually knows the underlying cause or how to fix it. And as we all know, there is nothing as permanent as a temporary fix when it comes to technical things. The last thing you want to do is confirm the correction. You always have to do this. An uncorrected error is still an error, whether or not the customer thinks it's fixed. You always have to confirm it, and you always need a good test plan for confirming this, which is why you really have to bring your customer in, because in a lot of cases, especially in a prod issue, you may not have access to actually confirm it. If it's a payroll problem or an HR type record problem or something like that. The next thing you want to do, and this is very important, is verify that you didn't break anything else while you're correcting the original issue. Complex systems are complex and sometimes fragile. You change one thing and it may have fixed the immediate problem, but caused a much bigger one. And if you don't have a test plan to confirm that you didn't do that, that's just setting yourself up for failure. And the other thing too, you really have to, especially if you're doing a larger deployment where you have many systems, across, if it's a cloud instance, you may have it across multiple regions. You may have it across multiple data centers on an on-prem type situation. You really want to leverage automation and automated unit testing to both make sure that your fixes are deployed in a consistent fashion and thoroughly test the state of the system after every correction, every time you touch it. You basically want to leave it in a better state that you found it when you have to touch a system for any kind of corrective action. And the only way to do that is unit testing and with automation, and with any consistency, the only way to apply fixes is to leverage automation to do that. And that's one of those, without getting too far into a discussion of automation, there's lots of automation platforms out there that are perfectly good for this. Unit testing platforms, that's a whole different story when it comes to PeopleSoft. It doesn't always play nice with testing suites, as we all know. And possibly one of the biggest errors that people commit when they do this is they don't integrate their knowledge. You have to look at it as every time you touch a system and fix a cause or you fix a condition by correcting the cause and then confirming it, you add to your body of knowledge. You have more confidence in yourself, and you can use that knowledge to your advantage for every future troubleshooting item. And to do this, you really need good notes for yourself and for the rest of your team. We all know, at least me, if I sleep between working on a ticket and having to look it back up and didn't put notes in it, probably I'm not going to remember what I did. And your teammate, not to be morbid, but every once in a while somebody walks out and gets hit by a bus and their teammates are left to pick up where they left off. And if they don't know what you were doing, they're going to have problems. The best way that I've found is a kind of a wiki style internal knowledge base where you can collaborate with all of your coworkers about what's going on, what root causes you've found for various conditions, how you solve them, gotchas, pitfalls, that kind of stuff. And what we're doing here, you got to share knowledge with the other admins. One thing I really hate, when I first started doing sysadmin stuff, it was in the telecom world, and I saw lots of what I ended up calling beachheads of knowledge. You'd have people who wanted to be irreplaceable, and so they'd never share any information. And that just causes problems for everybody, including them, because if you're not sharing the information, then you can't even take a day off, because if something breaks, you're the only one that can fix it. And so for everybody's sake, you really have to share your knowledge among other admins on your team, and when you can, among other admins in the greater community. That's kind of the best way to make sure that knowledge like that continues down to the next group and across to people who may need it. So yeah, gotchas. There's so many gotchas. I listed the 5 big ones. There's of course all the other usual ones. You got to make sure that when you're working on a system, make sure you're working in the right environment. Make sure you're testing the right service. I mean, we all know, we've all been there where we all have mistakes where we make like that and don't ever want to talk about it, but the usual gotchas there. So yeah, and I'm going to open it up for some discussion, because this usually generates discussion. So what do we have in the way of questions or discussion? And I know we're only about halfway through this, so.
There was a comment that Jürgen had posted. Can you go back one slide? And I'm trying to remember when that.
The knowledge slide. Knowledge is half the battle. I had a question for that.
I think it's slide 8, John.
Okay, hang on. I have no slide numbers handy. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
This one? Oh
yeah,
There we go.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So that and thank you for presenting this process. Our organization, we are following this process. Our landscape is all on-prem.
Okay.
So there is the quick fix, or the decade-old adage of, well, let's just throw in more memory or more CPU, right?
Yep.
Which can actually make things worse instead of better. So what is a good? We are often in calls where there are performance issues.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not errors, right? There's not a technical process is broken, but we have performance issues. So for example, people can't log in, they encounter the spinning wheel, they encounter performance issues navigating from one page to another.
Mm-hmm.
And then we usually look at all layers of our architecture, of course, to identify any existing bottlenecks, or I call those splinter in the mind's eye items, right? That really are yelling at you.
Mm-hmm.
But there is this fine balance between how long do you spend time of analyzing, because we have usually the customer in that meeting.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm surprised you didn't bring that up. To me, it seems like the number one item recommended by PeopleSoft is always a rolling bounce with or without clearing a cache for these kind of issues. It's actually very often the number one item that PeopleSoft has in documents. Is that also your experience? And working on a cloud platform is very different, right? You're having hopefully none of those performance issues if you're working on OCI and everything is scalable, right? Hopefully you don't have any of those, but maybe you remember from on-prem times what your best practice is in that area.
Oh, we still you still have to size your initial containers and stuff correctly to not have performance issues. So we still we see them a lot less in production because we're already past the sizing exercise by then, and we have a good idea of what the sizing should be for resourcing. And you're right. Oracle kind of defaults to the Windows model of, turn it off and on again if you're having performance problems. I kind of intentionally left that out because I didn't want this to necessarily even be a particularly this was more of a thought process than a particular PeopleSoft procedure type document. But you're right, Oracle does recommend that. And to your point, you can't really take all the time in the world to gather statistics and that kind of stuff when the customer's on the line. My answer to that would be, we've kind of taken the opposite approach. We try and do log correlation by default. Just as we bring things up, we put them into Prometheus and Grafana. And so in our case, in a lot of cases, we don't have to necessarily go look at logs. We can correlate them as they're coming in and see where we're having the slowdowns. If it's something in the app server taking longer to process because there's something going on in the database, or we've somehow the heap size on the web server is not right and garbage collections are running and doing a full collection and killing the web server for 10 minutes or
so. Yeah, how do you determine for example, a process degradation on a PeopleSoft online transaction without huge PeopleSoft application performance monitoring platforms and solutions? Because that's not included in the log.
No, it's not included in the log, but there are timestamps of how long things took in the log. Like in an app server log, there's this process took, this step in the log took this many seconds. And so when you're looking at an app server, you can see if you clicked on a page and it's running a SQL script, and the SQL script took 30 seconds to run. Then you can say, okay, is the SQL long? Is there something going on in the database with that table?
No, I don't think we see that. We see that in the app server. Have you something enabled very specifically?
There's log fencing you can turn up or down to get more data.
Yeah, that would be setting the log fence level, but that's expensive and can potentially degrade performance even more.
I mean, it can, yes, but it's also one of those, to your point, you can generally throw a little more resourcing at something if you're doing that. Let me see. Hang on one second. Let me pull up one of our. What do I have that I can pull an app server up on that's not going to have any PII in it? Give me 1 second.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to dominate the discussion.
Oh no,
right?
this is about half of this presentation is Q&A, because the first half is really just here's the mindset, here's the gotchas that happen, largely speaking. So yeah, about the second half is a lot of Q&A and discussion. So this is good discussion.
So to me, the guiding principle here is observability, right? How do we enable the PeopleSoft stack and architecture and log?
Yep.
How do we enable it to see these kind of things? Because we don't see it at the moment. We see it for scheduled processes with Process Scheduler. We don't see it for online transactions. We have good visibility on the database layer. We have AWR reports, all of that good stuff. And we have observability on the OS level for the common, the common dimensions of bottlenecks, memory, CPU, network. Oh, all right. What is Trace Magic?
Trace Magic is I can't remember if Oracle developed it or if they just bogarted it. It's a program you can use to correlate and look over PeopleSoft traces on a ad hoc basis.
Oh, but then you have to switch on tracing in production, right? So that's the fun part. Yep. Okay.
Yep. me 1 second. I'm logged into one of our servers. Let me pull up a log file. We can just dissect it real quick.
Yeah, and we do not have single stacks. We have multi-stacks.
Yep. Which is really where if you're going to do that, you really need like a log correlation system like Humio or Grafana or Prometheus or and that really does give you the ability to correlate. And as we all know, correlation does not equal causation, but it does give you a good place to start looking.
Yeah. What is it you mentioned? Grafana? What else?
So we actually use a stack of Grafana, Prometheus, and Loki. Grafana is the visualization.
Okay.
Yep. So Grafana is the like visualization product, and that you can get it all. It's all open source. It allows you to build dashboards to like monitor systems. Prometheus is a metric scraper, so you can set it to pull metrics from WebLogic, Oracle. Tuxedo is a bit of a tricky one. There's really not a good Tuxedo connector yet.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get a whole lot of metrics out of it anyway. The real magic sauce there is Loki, which is a log correlator and aggregator. And so you can set it up and it'll basically ship all of your logs to, or, from like, say, WebLogic and your app servers and your process schedulers. It'll ship them to a Loki collector on your like NOC system. And then it can actually, you can look and see, okay, when this was happening in the app server, this was happening on the database, and WebLogic was doing this. And, you can correlate it to a metric shift of, oh, that happened when we had, 10,000 users hit because it's open enrollment. It gives you that kind of data analysis capability.
John, did you happen to see? I'm sorry, Jürgen. There's a follow-up series of comments that one of our other attendees has posted in the meeting chat. If you want to take a look at that, and if there's anything in there that you want to comment on.
Sure.
But specifically germane to this conversation, for sure.
Yep. So yeah,
we have an enterprise solution for logs, and that was one of my ideas in the past. We haven't implemented that yet, to feed all relevant logs. So what I mean by that is, if you think about it, right, all relevant logs of a system where you have 8 app servers, 8 web servers, 1 database server, that means you are feeding all app server logs, all web server logs. On the database level, you can really feed the log. You would have to go with the AWR report as an evidence, because Oracle alert log is, unless you have findings of errors in the Oracle alert log, other than that, it would not be a good source of information for that. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. For a multi-pillar, multi-stack architected system, if you have log analyses and log concentration, that makes it easier to look at one pane of glass, one tool, rather than having to look at all 4 servers at all 4 different logs at the same time. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And that's really what I was getting at with that, is especially when you're doing, big multi-server deployments, you really have to be able to correlate what's happening across all your servers and all your, processes to see, to really get a picture of what's happening. And, for the comments in the chat, probably going to horribly say this name, but Pay to Mary, you're correct. A good troubleshooting step like with this is stand up a single web and a single app and turn up the log fence and use trace magic. That'll also tell you a couple other things. If that one works, then it's potentially a problem with the URL that you're using on the first one, or something to do with that. Like maybe you're getting DDoSed and don't realize it. It could also be, a resourcing problem on the original servers if you pull one set off and they work fine with a limited user base. That's one of those. There's no such thing as too much information when it comes to this. So the more information you can gather, the more information you'll be able to use to make your decisions.
So one situation that we often observe is that there is a PeopleSoft process that all of a sudden has started to consume more memory on a given server, on a given asset than usual. And we usually can never find out why that is the case. We have to restart, the app server, web server, et cetera, but we can never find out what the actual root cause is for that. Are there any good tools for capturing that state to hand over to Oracle? Because very often we have to open a ticket with Oracle, provide information, provide logs, but the situation has already passed, right? We cannot provide
Yep.
a state dump of that particular process.
There-
Any recommendations about that?
There is a way. I haven't used it in forever, so I don't remember much about it. But there is a way to generate a trace, like not a trace, a core dump.
Yeah,
from a
or it
process.
was I think there was an strace utility.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. And that'll generate stuff that's only usable by Oracle. They don't give away how to use that. But yeah. I see in the Q&A, Venkat, you asked how to collaborate and know the hiccups when the other person are on a deadline. The deadlines are the problem in that equation, because we get back to, you don't always have time for a root cause. If you have a fix that'll fix the symptom, sometimes you have to do it and then go research, hit the Oracle forums, or start looking around on Stack Overflow, that kind of stuff. I find I haven't found a good place really to collaborate with other admins. I've actually thought about trying to figure out how to start one myself for just like PeopleSoft admins. But the best way is that I have at the moment is networking. I think that's one of those. If you have a community you can reach out to, that's the best way at the moment that I think there is to collaborate with other admins. I mean, just the other day I had another admin reach out to me because Oracle support was having problems, and he wanted to know if I was having problems too. And so we did a quick 10-minute screen share just to kind of collaborate and see if we were both having the same problem. You're correct. psadmin.io is a good source. I don't know. Oh, they have Slack now. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. psadmin.io, a good source for PeopleSoft performance and technical troubleshooting?
I think it's a good place to collaborate in like the comment sections and stuff. I don't know that it's.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good info on psadmin.io, but it covers the whole gamut of PeopleSoft, in my experience.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that posting. There used to be red papers, right, for PeopleSoft performance. I think the last one was published 10, 15 years ago. We actually just heard recently that there also used to be a very significant PeopleSoft performance team within Oracle, which were specialists for PeopleSoft performance. That team has been disbanded and disbanded into the support organization. I think it was called PSCA or something like that. That team doesn't exist anymore. So if anybody has newer versions of that Oracle Performance white paper, I'd love to see that. The last one I have known is very old, and a traditional good resource was also David Kurtz. David Kurtz, PeopleSoft DBA used to be a good a source, good source as well. Yeah, go faster, exactly. But a lot of those, my observation is that a lot of that intelligence and knowledge, especially for the database layer, stagnated in the last 8 to 10 years with newer PeopleSoft, with newer Oracle database versions. I don't know why. I don't think the performance issues went away. But that was my observation.
That's one of those. I mean, yeah. I have definitely noticed. Seems like I don't know if it's the caliber of DBA or just what, but yeah, I've noticed that it's very rare to find a DBA who understands PeopleSoft or a really good PS admin who truly understands Oracle, and that can definitely cause performance issues too.
Yeah. It's also, there used to be, unfortunately, not anymore. There used to be a very prevalent company in Dallas, in Las Colinas, called Hot Sauce. I don't know whether anybody knows that, but they were specializing in Oracle performance, independent from the ERP solutions. Unfortunately, the company doesn't exist anymore.
I will say PeopleSoft, or not PeopleSoft, Gideon Taylor, we've come up with, and I don't know, Scott, if we want to plug Pure Ed here, but we have an architecture that's somewhat proprietary that we run for some customers that is very fast. But it is a product, we have to host it because it has a lot of RIP on the architecture side of it. So
yeah, and
it
you
is.
probably use things like Exadata, etc., right?
Nope.
In the architecture stack. No?
Nope, we run plain old Oracle database.
Ah, okay. Tell us
I'll
more.
just say most slowness you're going to find in most cases is in the mid tier, in the web tier, not in the database tier. At least in our findings.
I love you, John, because what I always hear is, oh, it's always the database tier. So
Nope. It's one of those. One thing that I will say, Oracle has gotten better at making a database that's good out of the box, for the most part.
Yes.
But yeah, no. Most of our architecture stuff focuses on the mid tier, web tier, and those pieces. And yeah, when we're done working it over, it is very fast, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah. It is definitely optimized for PeopleSoft performance. Yeah, using I think exclusively Oracle technologies.
Yep.
So
Well,
if I can
Oracle-
interject, I love all the knowledge sharing. I think this is fantastic. There are some good comments in the chat also that folks can continue to review. If we could take just a pause, because I know that we've got some announcements to make, John, and then we can go ahead and jump back into the discussion if folks still have questions or comments.
Perfect.
If you wouldn't mind advancing your slides.
To the
Gideon Taylor has a very large event coming up that we are excited to promote. It is GT Ignite. It's part of the Alliance Conference, and there are folks on the call here that are familiar with the Alliance Conference. It's hosted every year, predominantly for higher education and public sector. This is going to be a conference within a conference that invites all users. So any industry can participate in Ignite this year, and therefore Alliance if you're looking for additional content, particularly around PeopleSoft and Oracle. But the Ignite conference for Sunday and Monday of March 8th and 9th is focused on technologies and solutions that just improve PeopleSoft. So things like user experience improvement, performance improvement, workflow enablement with GT eForms, AI enablement with our IDA AI platform and our digital assistant. So if there are folks in the audience that are interested in attending Ignite or just finding out more information, go ahead and scan that QR code, and it'll bring you to an information page that talks about it. There are literally dozens of sessions focused on different enablement tools and services to help you get the most out of PeopleSoft. Some of those are GT led, a lot of those are customer led. So just a lot of very valuable content and some great networking opportunities with folks around the world that are using PeopleSoft.
Are you,
If you want to,
yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, this is within the Hack Alliance conference, you're saying, right?
Correct. Yeah, it is. It's Sunday and Monday of the Alliance conference. Sunday is essentially dedicated to Ignite, and then the Ignite track will be alongside the other traditional Alliance tracks on Monday.
So it's an additional cost to Alliance?
No, it's not. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
it's all included in the Alliance cost. You can go ahead and select the Ignite track as one of your options if you're registering for the Alliance conference. If folks are just interested in coming to Ignite, there is a reduced cost just for the Ignite conference and the Ignite content, if folks are interested. Good question, Jürgen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And John, you mentioned something that Gideon Taylor has for PeopleSoft performance, but it's you would have to do managed service. Is that what I heard?
Managed service and hosting. It's
Oh, yeah. Okay.
basically we only support it in our cloud environments type architecture.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's referred to as our pure red hosting, and that stack allows for what we've found to be the best performance for PeopleSoft applications. John, do you want to go ahead and advance?
Oh, sure.
And then we'll have Alicia come off mute and make mention of our upcoming trainings.
Yes, just a quick shout out to some of our upcoming trainings. One thing, actually, John, do you mind if I take the screen share for a second?
Oh,
I'll give it back to you. One thing I didn't get on our training slide that as we've had this conversation, I thought, oh, I missed, I could have missed an opportunity, which is to share. We do actually have a PeopleSoft administration training that really is focused on getting your PeopleSoft administrators up to speed and ready to go. It's intended, I think, more and for somebody that might be new to the space, but it is led by our sysadmin team, and 4 half days of instruction, hands-on, really gets them up to speed on that role as a PeopleSoft administrator. So wanted to share that. All of our training information is out on our website. If you just type into your browser docs.gideontaylor.com /training, or when give the screen share back to John Marcus, there is I'll give it back to you. There is a QR code that you can scan as well that will get you to our training. We have quite a suite. As I mentioned, we've got that sysadmin team and then our sysadmin training, as well as quite a number of other training courses. And then, John, if you want to advance to the next one, I'll just quickly heads up for the future. We're calling them Lunch and Learns. We might be changing the title of this because we do have an upcoming session that's going to be outside the lunch hour. So we may rebrand that. We're still working through that, but we do have a couple coming up that will continue to be during this lunch hour. February 19th, we will hear from the University of Oklahoma, and they'll be talking about their billing application and how are they able to get off of a legacy system that was really difficult to support, and how they made that transition. And then March, we will be doing a summary of all of the things we kind of introduced during the Ignite conference during Alliance in March. So hope you'll be able to join us for those sessions as well. Back to you, John.
Awesome. Thanks,
Awesome.
Alicia. And we'll go ahead and open it back up. We've got 10 more minutes. And if there are additional questions or comments that folks might have for John, we've got him trapped.
Yeah, I had one question. I was trying to locate PeopleSoft performance classes, and especially advanced performance classes. I can't even find a provider anymore. Does Gideon Taylor have something in that area?
I don't think we have anything formal, but we could definitely, I think, put something together. In fact, if you were interested, we could probably even put together a tailored, get on, give you a small presentation, and then work with you guys for hour, 2 hours, whatever whatever you'd like in that regard, and help you work through some issues you're having.
Like well, yeah, a customized training offering. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yep,
I know we've
thanks.
done that in the past with just a generalized sysadmin training that was kind of customized for a customer. So I don't think we have any problem doing that for you guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. I saw your question, Melissa. We only have one customer on PUM 36 for CS at the moment. If you have any screenshots of the error, I'd be happy to look at them and see if anything jumps out.
And I see there's a question, is the docs.gideontaylor.com site GT specific? There is the majority of the content on that site is going to be GT specific with regards to product documentation on eForms and training information on GT eForms classes, both introductory and advanced training classes. But there are some classes that we offer on a regular basis specifically for PeopleSoft, and the one that Alicia mentioned earlier, the PS admin training classes that we offer, that's included out on that docs.gideontaylor.com site. And I think there's also a component interface class. Alicia, are there others that are kind of generically PeopleSoft?
We don't have a lot of generic PeopleSoft, but I will add to what John said. We are happy to custom tailor training to you as well. So we have a lot of expertise in PeopleSoft. We've just focused a lot of our training on our product, eForms product, but it's not something that would be, I mean, it's definitely well within our wheelhouse, and we're happy to take that, into consideration and do things between mentoring or delivering, specific training classes. There's lots of options there.
Sam, I love your question. GTE Forms right now, the GTE Forms product that you're familiar with is dedicated to PeopleSoft. It's all People Tools based. But we do have the new GTE Forms for Cloud tool that is available today. And we're going to be doing a lot of discussion and demonstrations of that at the Ignite and Alliance conference coming up in March. If you'd like to find out more information, by all means, let me know. You know how to reach us, and we'd be happy to host a demonstration of GTE Forms for Cloud. But the intention with that product is that it is cloud hosted and platform or application agnostic. So you can tie GTE Forms, you could plug GTE Forms into any application that you're using, whether it's Banner or Workday or Oracle Cloud applications, ServiceNow, Salesforce, Canvas, any application that you might be using that could benefit from an enterprise-wide custom application development tool, predominantly configuration-based. So it's a low-code, no-code solution, and we are really excited to get that out there in the marketplace. So thank you. And yes, see you in March in Orlando. And it looks like there's another question here. We have recently GTE Forms issue, and after hours of troubleshooting, came to know that path lock policy is blocking. Oh, that's unfortunate. Just wanted to inform GTE Forms guys if they can conduct any troubleshooting sessions. That is an interesting issue. I don't think that we've been aware of that yet. Might be good for us to connect with our friends at Pathlock and see what we can do to enable that. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, we could definitely Yeah, I'm not even sure where that would originate from on our end, Scott. Who do we do that?
So Hannah, it looks like it's also an issue that you guys are having at Concordia, or at least aware of. Okay, good to know. I'll follow up outside of this call and see what we could do to help you all resolve that.
Yeah. If you need me or anything, Scott, feel free to pull me in.
You bet. I appreciate that. All right. Anything else that folks have questions or comments on? If not, John Marcus, any closing comments, words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Don't let it stress you when you have to go home at night and can't solve it. You'll get it the next day.
There you go. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it all boils down to patience and process. And I
Yep.
love how you organized kind of a methodology in terms of how to approach these things and make sure that you're checking those boxes as you're working
Yep.
through these problems with folks.
Yep. And that's kind of why I disclaimed at the beginning is this isn't necessarily a PeopleSoft troubleshooting. This is a how do you troubleshoot any complex system type deal. Just so
Very
happens
good.
the PeopleSoft is the complex system we all troubleshoot on a daily basis.
Yes. Well, John, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge this afternoon. And folks, keep an eye open on your email over the next few days for the link to the recording if there's anything here that you missed. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can go ahead and shoot me a note at scott@gideontaylor.com, where you can also find links to contact us on our website. Thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you either in Orlando at Ignite and Alliance or on a future Lunch and Learn conference or webinar. Thanks. Bye-bye.